This video recaps all the Stanley Cup Playoff games from April 25th, 2025. And while it is late, it's better late than never. Enjoy, everyone. Shake and bake, baby! It's Talladega weekend in NASCAR, but meanwhile in the NHL, it seemed like a lot of back and forth action as these finishes looked too close to call on Friday, including some track meetups north and our first double overtime game of the playoffs. Day 7 of the playoffs had some excitement and some violence. Are you ready for Friday Night SmackDown? Experience fight night like you've never experienced before. The Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens. It's the NHL mixed with WWE. Coming to you live from the Bell Center at Montreal. Wrestling promos aside, there was actually one of the most violent games of the playoffs. You have everything factoring into the equation. The contending Capitals and how physical they play with Alex Ovechkin, Tom Wilson, and John Carlson leading the charge. The Canadiens matching that physicality by way of Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, Arbor Chakai, Jake Evans, and Emil Heineman. Yeah, it got pretty violent, but I did expect the Habs to out-hit the Caps 45-26. There already was a big storyline. Patrick Laine's out of an upper body injury. Then several more pop up. Playoff hockey is truly back in Montreal. And by that I mean a capacity crowd at Bell Center. Not that fraction of a capacity crowd as was the case in their 2021 Miracle Run. Habs fans are thrilled to watch their team be back at hockey's mecca for the postseason. First, it was complete calm before the storm. Connor McMichael sets up at the net front and redirects Matt Roy's shot from the right circle. After both power plays come up empty, Alex Carrier risks a deep shot for the point to tie the game up at 1 before the first ends. The start was all Montreal, and both man advantage units were solid. Then, let's devolve into chaos. All of a sudden, the third line for the Habs is getting the best chance to start the second. Not what Marty St. Louis wants to see. But Gallagher gets robbed by Logan Thompson on a blazing one-timer. Top of the left circle. Nick Suzuki will not let this power play go to waste, capitalizing on a Washington turnover and putting away the backhand. Andrew Mangiapane gets around Jake Evans to fight Jacob Chikrin on the left circle, who fires a bomb past Sam Montembeault to tie the game at 2. Now, one of the other storylines of this game was that all 4 goaltenders playing this game. It's not because of bad performance, it was because the 2 stars were injured. Montembeault had to leave to an apparent injury nearly a minute after the Chikrin goal as he was grabbing the back of his left leg. Jakub Dobeš will replace him. He would quickly get acclimated to playoff hockey in his first season in the NHL. He was a standout with the Ohio State Buckeyes in his 2 years there, and carried over that success to respectable results both with the Laval Rocket and Montreal Canadiens in the last 2 years. It was Cole Caulfield who got the Habs to lead with 9 seconds left in the second, when Rasmus Sandin gave the puck away to Lane Hudson, and Hudson made no mistake finding Caulfield on one-timer cross. It looked to be all calm at this point in time, but all of a sudden, they've got beef! It's mayhem at the Capitals bench as both Tom Wilson and Josh Anderson had a disagreement at the end of the period. Players yelling back and forth at center ice. Arbor Chakai tying up Wilson before Anderson entered the fray. It got to the point where they were throwing haymakers on the bench, and they went coast to coast along the bench as it was cleared. Brock Miles, the Capitals equipment manager, grabbed a broken stick to protect himself from all the chaos that ensued at the end of the period. Wilson dropped the gloves but got several glove punches from Anderson, and it took a Herculean effort from linesman Kyle Flemington to separate the 2 of them. As much as officials make questionable calls, I'm giving full marks to Flemington to getting in the middle of the melee and courageously separating the 2 of them as they were getting at it. The scrappiness may have happened at the end of the second period, but this physical altercation was a long-standing buildup of bad blood in this physical series. 6 roughing minors were assessed in Game 1. There were combined 75 hits in Game 1 and 65 in Game 2. Alex Ovechkin leads the Caps in playoff hits at age 39. Anderson is slowly becoming a villain among the Caps, and some of his plays left Caps fans wanting penalties in Game 1. Then, in Game 2, he knocked Wilson over in an otherwise peaceful stoppage. Jackey's debut in this game ignited a larger fire, with St. Louis countering Washington's strategy of targeting the young players. And it didn't take long for Jack-Eye to answer the call. He even exchanged words with Wilson during pre-game warm-ups. And the spiciness carried over to the game where the Habs went after Wilson. Mike Matheson and Christian Dvorak knocked him down near the benches. And before that, Ivan Demidov slew-footed Wilson after he went after Jake Evans. The main event was when Mike Matheson tried to hit Ryan Leonard up high at the buzzer. but Anderson took things too far when he bumped Lars Eller as he skated by. After the scuffle, Wilson made a sarcastic crying face where Habs fans were singing, "Ole, ole, ole, ole." All over the arena is so loud and deafening that chances are that you could even hear them outside the arena. The chippiness of this game seemed to overwhelm the Caps, even for OB tying the game up when he one-time passed on Dylan Strome on the rush, because the Habs do not like words capitalized. Joe Armia ties up Matt Roy. Christian Dvorak tries to sneak a pass for Gallagher and deflected in the net off Rasmus Sandin's stick. That's the second time Sandin was on the wrong end of a Montreal goal, but things went from bad to worse for Washington. Not only did Caulfield deliver a dime to Yuri Slafkovsky on net front drive for a tap and goal, but Strome takes out his own netminder when he fell on him. Yes, both starting goaltenders exit the game to injuries. Logan Thompson looked shaken up earlier in the game when he took the puck up high, but he stayed in the game. Montembeault's injury was unknown and we don't know the extent. Thompson got ran by his own teammate and needed help off the ice. But why would Habs fans boo and taunt him off when he was clearly injured? I don't care if Charlie Lindgren, their former first-string goaltender, entered the game. There's no excuse for booing an injured goaltender off the ice. Lindgren would allow just one goal on 5 shots. A power play goal from Alex Newhook on a feed from Gallagher. But this game will be remembered for not only the fight that took place at the end of the second period, but also the speed and energy of the Habs. The new line combination of Marty St. Louis, Daminov at the top power play unit, and the emergence of Montreal's secondary scoring. The Habs' drive for the playoffs was mostly from the big four of Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Hudson. After the first 2 games, results were mixed, as they were held in check by Washington's second line of Wilson, McMichael, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. St. Louis adjusted and put the top line against Ovechkin, Strome, and Anthony Beauvillier. End result, 16-4 in shot attempts, 10-2 shots on goal, and 86.3% of the expected goals in approximately 530 of 5-on-5 play. Anderson, Dvorak, and Gallagher went up against the Dubois line, and they ran them all over the rink. They out-attempted that line 25-8, outshot them 9-3, and outchanced them 12-4. St. Louis found his ideal line to respond to the physicality the Caps brought. Stop me if you heard this before. The Hurricanes lose a hard-fought game that goes past the first overtime. I'm dead serious. They're 1-9 in playoff games going to double overtime or longer, including 7 straight losses, which is a streak that still continues to this day. The only one they've won was when they dethroned the then defending champion Washington Capitals in 2019. It what proved to be the 3rd longest Game 7 in NHL history. Well, this isn't Game 7. Far from it. This is Game 3. Where Carolina had a 2-0 series lead entering this match and putting New Jersey on the ropes. The Devils were lifeless in Game 1. They did better in Game 2, but it was not enough. New Jersey needed this badly in Game 3 because they were treading dangerous waters with how the Canes were playing this series. Jacob Markstrom can only do so much, you know. First period, good start. The Devils were in total cruise control throughout the frame, with a 5-on-5 expected goals rate of 72%, and it culminated in Nico Hischier tally where he took a pass from Timo Meier and was all alone in front, burying the puck with just over 3 minutes left. The Devils were getting better chances the more dangerous ones, and it was exactly the period they needed to make a statement. Second period, completely different. Carolina turned the tide and even got a power play out of it. The Devils killed it off, but the Canes had all the momentum. And to show how crazy the advantage was, Carolina had 32 Corsi attempts at 5-on-5, while the Devils had 9. Not only that, the Canes also had 7 high danger chances in New Jersey too, and it shows how good Rod Brindamore adjusted after the first period. Without Markstrom making key saves, the Canes would have taken the lead. That was good news for the Devils because the third period started off with Jesper Bratt going around Jacob Slavin and cutting to the net. And as Freddie Anderson was way out the crease going for the puck, Dawson Mercer put it in the empty net. The goal mixed hard work and skill that Devils fans wanted from Mercer. Carolina's power play was brutal in the second half of the season. Yes, they did get 1 in Game 1, but they need to start quicking on a consistent basis. Who would have thought they'd get 2 power play goals in the same game? Seth Jarvis fires a snipe for the left hash to the right circle while taking a feed from Sebastian Aho. And as both the Devils and Canes fought for a loose puck off the faceoff, Andrei Svechnikov pried his own one-time rebound free off Markstrom and found Aho, who was in front with the netminder way out of his crease and going full-on aggressive goalie. Nobody could get an advantage over one another for the rest of regulation. In fact, Markstrom put on the windmill on Jesperi Kotkaniemi after Jackson Blake stole the puck in the final minute of regulation. As such, we are rewarded with overtime. In fact, let's make it 2 overtimes. New Jersey dominated 5-on-5 throughout both overtime periods, and it looked like they were going to do exactly as they did in the first period. In both overtimes, the Devils outshot Carolina 12-3. After they struggled for the second and third, the Devils controlled 85% of expected goals, and it showed that they can properly adjust to the Canes on the fly and play well. It's doable. But who would have thought that Shimon Nemec, the youngest player on the Devils, After the wild ride he's been through this season, Wood scored a winner for his first career playoff goal. Freddie comes out to play the puck after it was dumped in as both teams changed players. Jack Roslovic subs in for Kotkaniemi as Andre Palat's line is at the end of its shift. Tomas Tatar hurries Freddie up as the goaltender as both Tatar and Justin Dowling on the side. Carolina was playing man-on-man. Sean Walker gets the puck to Andrei Svechnikov, where he moves the puck through the boards or Roslovic is sacked. But Nathan Bastian pressures Roslovic and he one-touches the pass to nobody at center ice. Big mistake. Carolina is calling the change, and so is Shane Gostisbehere. Nemitz is moving fast, and while he could have dropped it off to Bastian, Nemitz decides, I'm gonna do this myself. Takes it past 4 Canes from the middle of the zone, goes by Gostisbehere, and at this point, Freddie knows it's a one-on-one situation. The other Canes are too far out. Nemitz banks it under Freddie's right armpit. He gets 90% of this puck, but it floaters right by and goes off the inside the far post. Game over. In the longest Devils game since they eliminated the Florida Panthers in the first round 13 years ago, instead of Markstrom transcending space and time, it was Freddie doing this. He had another candidate for saving the playoffs. He robbed Timo Meier again, snagging his glove to take away a surefire goal while on his stomach. But that 12-free shot advantage for New Jersey put a lot of weight on Freddie's shoulders. The loss was far from his fault. Everyone has come up dry right in front of him. For New Jersey, while it was a win, it wasn't a full 60-minute game. The penalty kill, which has normally been a strength for them, wilted, and their special team has become a serious problem in this series. Carolina is dominating the special teams battle, scoring 3 power play goals and killing off all 10 penalties. Progress needs to be made for the Devils. Oh, they got Jonas Siegenthaler back in this game too. The price was Jonathan Kovacevic. He left the game in the first period and didn't return. To recap to save the blue line, Dougie Hamilton returned for the regular season finale after missing over a month to injury, and he's still playing visibly injured. Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon are still out, and even if they return for the series, they clearly won't be 100%. And that's not to mention Brett Pesce is also playing injured. It's a next man up league, but there's a point where you can only do next man up for so long until the pipeline's exhausted. Unexpectedly, heroes will rise though. Nemitz is one, though the other is Brian Dumoulin, who played 36-29, and the Devils controlled the play with him out there. Siegenthaler was solid in his return with 3 blocked shots and 5 hits and 27:09 of ice time. A nice night for the defensive core and the Devils in general. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Stuart Skinner's been told to sit on the chair, and Calvin Pickard is taking over. Last time this happened, Skinner went on a tear from Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals where the Oilers on the way to a Stanley Cup final appearance. But there's no guarantee that'll happen again. The Oilers don't have the same defense from last season this time around. If Game 1 was the definition of a track meet that almost had a comeback, Game 3 was a sequel to that track meet, except the comeback went the other way. It's hard to get a boring game in this series. Those first 2 games were fun, and this one was no different. And it was a fast start for the Oilers as they scored their first 2 goals in the first half of the first period. As Connor McDavid fell down, he gets it off to Zach Hyman, who locates Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at the goal mouth to begin the party early, and Evan Bouchard doubled down the man advantage. Leon Draisaitl wins the faceoff back to Bouchard, then skates between the circles before loading his Booch bomb for a screen to make it 2-0 exactly 3 seconds to get their Oilers their first power play goal in this series in their 6th attempt. The Kings expected this start from the Oilers, as they were playing with a sense of desperation. That didn't faze them one bit. Pickard and Darcy Kemper exchanged great saves up until Adrian Kempe took a cross-ice pass from Drew Doughty during a 4-on-4, as McDavid gets crossed up and rips one for the right circle, picking his spot for his 4th goal of this series. Shots at one play were 9-3 Oilers, but the Kings cut back on that to make it a 2-shot deficit, 12-10. Bouchard almost had another goal, but a shot for the left circle went off the crossbar. Then the Kings get a power play. After a miscommunication between Quinton Byfield and Kempe, Byfield recollects the puck at center ice, and they slowly work their way up. Kevin Fiala slows up at the right circle, pulls up and picks his corner, ties the game up at 2. Kemper has been spectacular this season. He continued when he robbed Jake Wallman and Leon Draisaitl, and his defense backed him up later when they cleared a gorgeous rebound for Corey Perry. LA's power plays also exposed how awful this Oilers PK is this season, and it was the second unit cashed in for the 2nd consecutive game, where Trevor Moore found Drew Doughty for a shot from distance that went through traffic past Pickard's glove for the Kings' 7th power play goal of this series alone. Oh, the Oilers didn't hear a bell, even for the Kings not panicking and working their way up back in the game. Evander Kane sends a gorgeous backhand feed from the near corner to the front, where Connor Brown taps it past Kemper's glove to tie the game up at 3. But 9 seconds later, Moore blows by Wallman, and with one hand on the stick, he goes down the middle and goes 5-hole on Pickard. First goal of the postseason for Moore, and after 40, the Kings are in control again. Oh, what a goal. Unfortunately, There are no harmonicas in Edmonton. And the Kings are not a good road team despite being the best home team in the league. And a crazy sequence at the front of the net, with the Oilers staying in the battle for a sustained period of zone time. Jake Walman's hopes for a deflection of Evander Kane in front, ends up with McDavid behind the net, centers it up for Kane, kicks the loose puck off Kemper, who was sprawled on the ice in opposition before he jammed it under him at his crease. The play's reviewed twice. Wants to make sure Kane didn't kick it into the net, which Kane got a stick on the puck just before across the goal line. Goal of objection! What now? Jim Hiller makes an ill-advised challenge for goaltender interference, and Kane didn't even touch Kemper once. The video coaches were fantastic for the Kings all season long, and Hiller's made many good decisions. This was not one of them. Kemper had no involvement in it either. He was simply in a bad spot when he dove across to try to make a desperation save. The Hail Mary shot was intercepted, and the Oilers score a pick 6 on the ensuing power play 10 seconds later. Bouchard takes a puck into the zone, 1 on 3. The Kings don't even pressure him. He drops it off to Leon Draisaitl at the point, who returns to Bouchard beside the net, who roofs the feed. The 4th fastest 2 goals in Oilers history. The game ended right there. For as good as the Kings are in the second period, the Oilers went full takeover mode in the third once again this series. They did it in game 1 and they did it again. The Kings tried to tie it, but Zach Hyman decks Doughty, levels him off his skates, and McDavid seals the deal with another empty netter from Brown. And another 3-point game from McDavid, the 4th Oiler to record at least 20 in a postseason career, joining Wayne Gretzky, Jari Kurri, and Mark Messier. The Kings have relied heavily on their top 9 unit and the top 4 blue line a lot early in this series compared to what the Oilers brought, where they've had more balance in the 4 lines, but more disparity on the top 9. There's not a lot seen from the Kings' 4th line. The same goes for Jordan Spence. Brandt Clark's minutes have been well under his usual workload. Another thing was that the Oilers played quick and with a determination to move the puck up the ice to pressure the Kings to their own end, even on entries that weren't clean. They have 3 players on the blue line ready to attack, and they can exploit the Kings' swarming style defense down low. When they pick up puck, the Kings' defensive coverage is not set, even when plays are starting slowly. The Oilers are still advancing the puck as far up the ice as they could on the forecheck. Edmonton was better defending the rush in this game, but they still have work to do. The Forts were better protecting layered attacks. The defensemen were okay, but not special. And while they were just shorthanded twice, they were scored on in the 2 Kings power plays, but there were times in which they were more in sync and aggressive. They didn't allow the Kings to get set up at times. The Kings had just 1 shot in their first power play, and the Oilers PK actually had more shots than the Kings power play on the second one, but there are no moral victories in the playoffs. The Oilers were also the more physical team, but also had the puck more. 7 came from Vasily Podkolzin. Trent Frederick and Evander Kane give the Oilers much needed size and physicality, and can both chime in offensively too. Frederick is getting more comfortable as the series goes on. Don Klingberg was solid his return to the lineup, especially with his lateral movement. The team as a whole crushed the Kings top line to a tune of a 14-5 shot advantage and a 2-0 score advantage. We don't know if the challenge is the turning point, but the Oilers are back in this series.